welcome back. I hope you're having an amazing day. Today I'm going to talk about 5 different types of toys that I decided to declutter and my reasoning. If you're new here, my name is Shannon and I make videos about decluttering, minimalism, and simple living, and you can hit the subscribe button to join my channel. I have had so many questions on what type of toys I decided to keep and why I decluttered what I did declutter, so I thought I would just go over that quickly today, and maybe this will help you when you are trying to declutter your toys in your home. All of these different types of toys that I decided to declutter were for my family, and of course it may not apply to you, so obviously just take what you can apply to your life and leave the rest behind. The first thing I decided to declutter were any toys that had a lot of tiny little pieces. And I have very young children, and the reasoning is obvious in my opinion. It's just I got really tired of picking up little tiny pieces. The only thing that we still have is little Lego, and that is because I can see the benefits of having that. My children love it. I feel like it's a learning toy and it keeps them busy for hours on end. So we do have little Lego, but all of the other toys that had little tiny pieces, I decided to declutter. And again, that was just to make it easier on myself for cleaning. I don't feel as a parent we need to punish ourselves by having a whole bunch of toys that just cause a bunch of chaos and craziness and make it harder to keep our house clean. The second type of toy I decided to declutter or not buy anymore was anything that flashes and makes a ton of noise. I can think of one car that we were given as a gift in particular, and this car was very large. It was a police car and it made a ton of noise. It had these LED looking flashing bright blue lights that really hurt my eyes, and it was super loud. The thing about this car is you couldn't really do anything with it. The doors didn't open, it had no real moving parts, you couldn't put people in it. It was just a big noisy flashing car. And after a few weeks of this car, I decided to declutter it. And the other thing about this car is you couldn't actually turn it off. So if you did touch it, it just started making all this noise and flashing with no way to turn it off. So that was something that I decided that I would declutter anything that was in that umbrella of loud, noisy, flashing lights, and also to not buy anything that has those flashing lights and crazy noises because it's just way too irritating. I always like to think of space for value. So if you have a large toy that takes up a ton of space and causes a lot of irritation, you have to question if it is valuable enough to keep and have it taking up that valuable floor space in your kids' room or a play area or maybe even your living room. So for me, any really large toys, I had to question if it was worth keeping. So the third thing on my list is anything that is extremely large and takes up a lot of area. So this could be a giant dollhouse, or for us it was a kitchenette. Really, our children just did not play with this kitchenette enough to make it worth it. So I ended up decluttering it. It was in excellent condition and no one missed it when it was gone. So that's one thing that I do say. You want to question the size of the toys and how much value they're really bringing to your children. On a side note, if we did want to play kitchen, we can actually just use our real kitchen and get out pots and pans and they can pretend to cook or really cook and help me. So I just feel that you don't necessarily need to have a big giant toy to let them pretend play or play in the kitchen, and as long as you're supervising, I think it's completely fine to let them just use the real kitchen to play in. My fourth suggestion is just to go through and get rid of any toys that are broken or damaged or maybe your kids aren't playing with. And that just seems really obvious, but to be honest, I have to go through my kids' toys all the time because there's constantly things that are breaking or we're missing parts to and they can't actually play with it anymore. So I find that that's an ongoing decluttering task that I have to keep up with. And that's why I usually do a seasonal declutter where I go through their room and just analyze everything that's in their room, what toys they have left, what we need to get rid of, what's broken, and I guess that's just a reminder. I know some people will say that's obvious, but sometimes we just forget. So here's the reminder: go through, pick out anything broken, and get rid of it. And along with getting rid of broken toys, I actually went through and got rid of any toys that were not age appropriate. So as my kids get older, they're growing out of toys, and sometimes we were given toys that were way too old for my kids, and instead of holding on to a whole bunch of stuff that they may grow into, they might like, and I wouldn't even know if they like it or not, I decided to get rid of those items because I just felt it wasn't worth storing all these toys that they may possibly grow into. As it turns out, as my kids get older, I find that a lot of the time they're not into certain things that I thought they might have been into. So I just think it's better to buy the toys as you need them when they are in the appropriate age for the game or the toy. After this fifth item, I'm going to go over what we decided to keep because I did have quite a few questions on what we actually kept. But the fifth item that I decided to get rid of, or items, is anything that was, excuse my language, a little bit crappy. So any toys that were made of that really super cheap plastic, which we did have quite a few of, anything that came from the dollar store, which I don't shop for any toys from the dollar store anymore. I just find they become a complete waste by the time we bring it in the house. It's used maybe 2 or 3 times and then chucked into a bin that no one ever looks at again. So I just want to have really quality educational toys that my kids can get a lot of use out of and that are worth the space that they're taking up. So what toys did we actually end up keeping? First of all, this is going to be different for absolutely every single child because everyone's different and kids like different things. But my children love to do hands-on toys, so games. We have the Duplo and we have little Lego, which is used constantly. We do have a lot of cars because my younger son, my 3-year-old, likes to take out this car mat we have. It's a rug and he plays the cars on there. We have a train set, which again, I feel is educational because they're building it, they're putting it together, and then they're playing with the trains. And we have a lot of art supplies. And we do have some stuffed animals. I have limited it to a bin, and anything that can't fit into that bin must go. And at this point, I'm also not allowing any more new stuffed animals to come into the house because they become attached to them and it's definitely hard to get rid of stuffed animals. So we've hit our limit and we're not allowing any more. And I don't mind if my kids want to keep stuffed animals because I know that is a phase that they're obviously going to grow out of. So as long as I've limited it, I'm happy with that. And they love the toys that we have kept. Another thing we have is a pop-up tent. It rolls down to about this size and they can pop it up on their own. They put pillows in there and they play with that for hours. So I've found the more toys we get rid of, they actually seem to play more with the ones that we have kept. So if you're ever afraid of getting rid of toys, I personally have had the first-hand experience that my kids play better with less. So when there's a whole bunch of chaos and craziness and toys everywhere, it just seems to cause a lot of overwhelm. With less toys, I've found that they can concentrate more on the current task that they've decided to work on. So if it's the trains, they're way more concentrated on playing and focusing on the trains rather than getting distracted by all the random messy chaos around. If you're ever on the fence and worried about if your kids will be mad at you or be sad that they have less, I would suggest bagging up whatever toys you're thinking of getting rid of, put them in the garage or a closet, somewhere where your kids can't see them. And then I would just see how they do with what is left over. And if they're really upset and wanting something, you can go find it. But I would be surprised if that happens. For us, my children never said, hey, where's this item or that item? And after I decluttered, they were so happy to see all of their toys organized and they were able to focus and really see what they had and pick things very easily. This is what has worked for our family, and since I did my first declutter, I have been extremely picky with any new toys that come into our house. I very rarely shop for toys because I know we're already happy with what we have. So if you're new here, you can hit the subscribe button to join my channel. Make sure you tap the bell to never miss a video, and I hope you have an amazing day, and I'll see you next time. Bye! You can find more decluttering tips and tricks over on my blog, shannontorrens.com.